Hey, all you totally obsessed tennis players. Today I've got an incredible video that's going to help you dominate 3.5 doubles. This is the official blueprint, so let's dive right in. So the number one thing you need to do, and hopefully this will make you feel good, is I just need you to get a mid-level serve to dominate 3.5. You would think, oh, I need an incredible serve to dominate 3.5 tennis. No, you don't. Here's another thing too. Grip doesn't matter, okay? So even if you have, now of course, once we want to get up to a high level 4.0, 4.5 level, continental grip's important, spins are important. 3.5, not important. It's a nice to have, not a need to have. What you need to have, especially if you're playing doubles, okay, let me get my drawing tool out here, especially if you're playing doubles, is what you need to have is a serve that you can, there's your opponent, and here you are, right? So here you are serving, there's your partner right here. What you need to have is a serve that you can make, I would say, in the box, 60% first serves at a low point, okay? Low points, like a bad serving day is 60%. We need to make a healthy dose of first serves. That's why I'm saying you need a mid-range first serve. Serve, especially in doubles. And then your second serve, if you double fault once or twice a match. That's it. And you've got to have, I would have a first and second serve that are almost identical in pace. So however you want to serve, whether with a continental grip or if you're serving with a frying pan grip, I want you to have that kind of medium pace serve that you can make that's hard to attack. And the more you can hit your spots out wide, into the body, and down the tee, even better. That's another bonus. But it's really not a need to have. Here's the thing, and this is why I tell recreational players all the time, club players all the time. The good news is you are not serving it up to Serena Williams or Novak Djokovic. You are serving it up to another 3.5 on the other end. So sure, if you're hitting lollipop serves, although lots of people will tell you they have trouble with that, then you can have a rough time. But if you just got a nice steady pace on the ball where you can make most of your first serves in, no double faults, and your second serve isn't an absolute meatball, you're going to be fine at 3.5, and then you can focus on other things that you need to do to dominate at that level. So hopefully getting that out of the way is really, really good. Okay, the next thing you need to do, now this is super important. Next thing you want to do to develop to get dominating at your 3.5 level, again, I'm going to just draw a Y when it's you, and a P when it's your partner, and O when it's your opponents. You want to develop a good mid-court volley, okay, that gets you into what I call pole position. You want to be able to get from here to here successfully without making an unforced error, without giving this opponent right here easy poaching opportunities and blooping it up so this person can either pass or lob your team. You want to be able to hit two really nice volleys. Number one is, if we just draw this line, a volley that's deep that makes your opponent have to back up. Or if you've ever watched Will Hamilton from Fuzzy Old Balls, shout out to him and Martina Navratilova, the newt volley, which they call kind of like the nothing volley, also very effective to where you're volleying here and it kind of goes short and low and they've got to move forward, okay? Those are the two volleys that you want to be able to master. And in order to do that, you want to have a continental grip. Now, a continental grip is important. Very hard to volley at different levels. If you have the frying pan grip and you're approaching net, you have the ball comes around your shoulder, you can probably still volley well back there. But when it goes low or when it goes high or when you got to reach, if you don't have a continental grip, you are going to make a mess of those volleys. So that should be one of your big goals for this year, is to develop a continental grip volley that you feel confident in and practice a lot of volleys right in this area of the court, okay? The next thing that you need to do is you need to understand your role as a doubles player at all times, okay? So the three roles that you need to understand are offense, neutral, and defense. You need to know if you're on offense, if the point is neutral, or on defense, and you want to make sure that you are in the correct spots, okay? What's the number one mistake I see when you are in a neutral position? Number one mistake I see when you're in neutral position is you play right here. You play right on the baseline. And then what happens, or even inside of it too, trust me, I run a lot of camps. If you're interested in coming to one of my doubles camps or technique camps, email me at crunchtimecoaching@gmail.com or comment below. But what I see all the time from 3-5 players is they'll stand in here and they're not aware of how many balls they're missing right at their feet. They will even look at their forehand or at their backhand thinking that their stroke is off, but it's actually the court position is off, their footwork is off, and they're not giving themselves a fair chance to be able to hit good shots. So make sure that when you are here, even the pros, as great as they are, they're going to get themselves behind the line. So there you are now behind the line. And this gives you an opportunity for the ball to bounce and be able to hit out in front. So even if the ball comes really deep, if you're behind the line by 2 or 3 feet, you can still even potentially step into that ball. A lot of times it's also good to go open. The deeper the ball bounces, the more you want to go to your open stances. Remember that. A lot of people can't hit open stance. And so if you're stepping in everything, you're making yourself late, especially if you're there. Okay, so that's neutral. Make sure when you're in neutral position, you get behind the baseline. Now, let's talk another thing too. Let's talk about defense. What's the biggest problem I see when the point gets into a defensive position? Again, you're standing here. You got to get behind that baseline. Think about getting back to the fence. The better your team that you're playing is at hitting the ball with power and hitting overheads and you're in a lobbing position, the deeper you got to get back. And your partner too, let's say your partner's here, they also got to know. So if you happen to be here, you've got to get back and you both want to be playing defense. You are in a defensive position. And what I want you to think about is then turn it into a lob fest. Don't be in a panic. Don't be in a rush to get yourself out of defense. I see people swinging themselves out of defense. It never works. Lob your way out of defense. Now your opponents are here, and your goal is to get them back in here, hitting overheads and volleys. And then even if they have to retreat afterwards, or if they hit back a weak shot and then you can find their feet, now you can make that point go from defense to offense like that. That's what the pros do really well, is they're not afraid to play defense for 2, 3, 4, even 5 shots. But as soon as they see the opportunity for offense and it's a clear sign, then they know how to take offense. The problem with club players is that they want that point to turn back to offense so badly that they are swinging themselves out of the point and they're still in defense. Don't do that. Then you'll play much better. Okay, now let's get to the last position. Offense. Okay, so your partner's here, you're here, you have a short ball, and your opponents are here. What are some of the big mistakes that you're making on offense? You're letting that short ball bounce and come back too deep. That's the number one mistake I see. And so you're hitting your approach shot around here. You're only able to get here, and now you're having to hit volleys off your shoelaces. Yes, we want to practice a lot in the midcourt for our first setup volley, like I said just a couple of minutes ago. But the more you can get your volleys, your first volley, closer to what I call pole position, like if you can consistently hit your first volley here and then just have to get here to get to pole position, then you're going to be playing much better, okay? Are you liking this? Are you getting this? If you like this video right now, you see my buddy B2? He's dreaming about you liking this video. That's all he's thinking about. He's dreaming about, I hope they like this video. I hope they like this video. Because then I buy him more treats. So if you're liking this video, give it a like for B2. All right, let's go to the next thing that you need to do to dominate at the 3-5 level. Okay, here we go. We already talked about this. What I want you to be able to do, no matter what position you're on the court, I want you, and I'm not including the serve, I want you to have the best continental grip on the court. Let me repeat that. When you look at your competition, what I want you to start noticing and writing it down after a match, I want you to write if you are number 1, 2, 3, or 4 as far as being proficient with the continental grip. And the more teams you can play and honestly walk off the court and go, you know what? I was the best, most comfortable player on the court at the net. I was the best, most comfortable player chipping and charging. I was the best, most comfortable player hitting lobs, hitting overheads. Even if you're not great at it on the serve, if you can be the best player on the court with a continental grip at 3-5 doubles, you will dominate. Now, the next thing I want you to do, which is important because now we got a good continental grip, is I want you to have a chip to rip ratio goal in your head. I'll repeat that. This is important stuff today, guys. I want you to have a chip to rip ratio number in your head, a goal in your head. And even if you can film some of your matches to kind of see what's going on, if you're playing with your buddies, that's really important. Most people are not thinking about this. And what do I mean by that? For example, if I were to build a prototype 3-5 player, knowing that ripping a ball is always going to be a much greater physical risk than chipping a ball. They take both of them take the amount of time to develop. So don't take this for granted. This is actually hard to develop, even though it looks simple. Than this, we know that that looks complicated, especially when you're in a match. You got to go up there and swing your way through a ball. So there's always a greater physical challenge and risk as opposed to doing that. But what you want to do is develop that chip so that when you're playing your doubles matches, especially when we're taking balls in this area of the court and then even your baseline, then when you got on defense, kind of think about, what shots you want to chip versus rip. I would start, if I were to start with this somebody I didn't know any of their skills, I would develop them like, okay, we're going to be chipping, especially on second serve returns, about 70% of the time, and we're going to be ripping about 30% of the time. I would rather have my player chip more than rip at 3-5 doubles if I just want to win matches. I don't need the best, prettiest, hardest shot of the match. I just need my opponent to be very skilled all over the court and hurt the opposition. That's what I need them to do. And so I'm developing a 70% chip to a 30% rip. But there would be some players, though, depending on their just natural gifts, I might make it a 50-50 ratio. Or I might say, you know what, we're ripping. You're like amazing at topspin and everything. I'm not taking that away from you. We're actually going to rip. And by rip, I just mean topspin. I don't mean that you have to hit a winner every time. Rip is the topspin, chip is the chip. We're going to do that 60% of the time. You're going to be ripping, chipping for 40% of the time. But if I have a player who goes, you know what, I just don't believe in chipping the ball, I don't know how to chip a ball, then I'm going to teach him how to do it. There's no way you're playing doubles and you don't know how to chip a ball. That you cannot say that you just don't have that shot and you're not going to work on that shot. Then you're not going to dominate, and I want you dominating. Here we go. The next tool that you need in your tool belt right here that you need to have is you need to be able to ask your partner quick, positive questions. Let me reemphasize the word quick. Lots of players, club players, think when a coach says, hey, you guys aren't communicating enough, then they want to have like conference meetings, right? Where people got to dial in the Zoom and they're sitting there talking back and forth, and then you become annoying too to the competition. I believe in communication, but it even annoys me when teams are like literally talking every single point. I don't mind one point in a while where it's an extended conversation, but every single point you guys are like talking for 25, 30 seconds. No, that's annoying. Quick, positive questions and decisive decisions. That's what you need on a doubles court. Hey, your partner's going to get a ball. Hey, where do you feel like serving this next serve? I'm going to go down the tee. Okay, great. I'm going to go. I'm going to stay. High five. Back to the line. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Where do you want to hit this return? Oh, you want to go cross court? Okay, I might cross or I'll stay still. Like having these conversations so you guys can develop that camaraderie, that teamwork, that communication, and figure out how to beat your opponents. Hey, what do you think the other side, what do you think who's the weaker player, right? Even if you know the answer, you don't have to be a know-it-all. That's the biggest problem with people who love to communicate in doubles but are annoying and they can't figure out why no one wants to talk to them. They become the know-it-all communicator. Be the inquisitive question. Make your partner feel great. Make your partner feel smarter than you. Then you'll build up their confidence. Okay, that's your goal. All right, now, here is the next thing that you need to do. no approach and volley setups. All right. So we talked about this a little bit, but when it comes to approaches, there's more setups. So first, we're going to talk about approach setup. So I'm going to put an A because this means the ball is bouncing in front of you. It could be on a second serve. It could be on a weak ball. Here's your opponent. Here's your opponent. And here's your partner. What are your setups, partner, for P? Your setups when you are approaching are short angle. That's a good setup. Deep and lob. Those are going to be your main setups. And then you have a final one, which is an inside rip. Okay? Those are all your setup approach shots. Another thing, too, when you are going deep, try and keep the ball inside the singles line. Gigi Fernandez talks about this a lot. She coaches her club teams not to approach to the alley because now you're opening up angles. You're opening up angles when you approach in the alley. So keep your deep approach shots in the singles court. Okay, let's do this. Your setups for your approach volleys. Let's do this again. I'm going to set up your opponents. And here you are. And here is your partner. So this is when you're taking the first volley in the air. The further you're taking it back, I prefer a deep volley. The more you get closer to the line, you can think about a little short volley. Okay, those are your two main ones. And then as a bonus, especially as you get closer and you're stronger on one side. Like for me, I'm not going to do this on the backhand side this much. But on the forehand side, if I'm closing, so if I'm like right here, for example, I'm inside and I got a little bit of an angle right here and my opponent is here, then occasionally I might also take that first volley and go down the alley. But I want to be very careful not to do that too much because that's where I can start to litter up the unforced error stat sheet. I don't want to do that too much, but every once in a while I will do that, especially if I'm feeling it. Okay. So there we go. So the next thing that I want you to also develop, and I'm sure that you have not been coached on this too much, all right? I'm sure you might have never even heard this. I want you to develop a fake approach shot. We are so trained as club players, especially the coaches do this. Get a short ball, come to the net. Get a short ball, come to the net, close the net, close the net. And you probably have never practiced in your life. When you get the short ball, be good at a little draw play. Bring your opponent forward on purpose. It can either be a little drop shot, that's fine, or even a little firm chip. Make them come forward and have to decide, especially if somebody's not very good at the net, you want to run this a lot. Make them have to come here to get the ball, and now you can either just play the angles and still stay in the court, or if you don't do a good job and you feel like they're set up early, then you probably want to get back and get yourself either in a neutral or defensive position. It depends on how good you hit that little short shot, but you're still going to be in great shape. Let's say they're on offense, they're going to attack and they're going to attack you. If you're back there, even that little intentional short fake approach shot, now you're just thinking lob, right? The worse you hit this shot, hit it and then go, oh, I didn't hit that so good. Oh, they're attacking. Let me get back. Let me get in defense, and I'm going to lob the next play. That you're probably still going to win this point about 70% of the time when you run that. Trust me. As long as you get the lob past the service line. The other thing to do, though, and you'll see the pros do this a lot, Carlos Alcaraz does this a lot, is in singles. He'll hit a little drop shot when you think he's going to get ready to hit a big approach shot. That's when it makes it really effective, is you think Carl's going to hit a big approach shot, he then goes to the drop shot, brings his opponent forward, and cuts off the angles. He angles his body to where it's hard to get by him, and then he can just maybe the ball bounces in front of you. You can hit a passing shot if they don't get there quick. If they hit the ball, and you can also take in the air and just lob in the air, or maybe you got a little angle, or maybe you can go through the both of them, right? Let's say they're moving out here, and now they're struggling to get back to the middle. Maybe that first volley or pass is right through the middle, split the middle. Okay, so now that you have this play, the next thing you're going to want to do is we're dominating 3.5 doubles. We want to go to the next level. So what I have in this video is the top reasons you might be stuck at 3.5. So you're going to need to watch this video to get unstuck at 3.5. Then we go to 4.0, and then I will make that how to dominate 4.0 doubles video for you. All right, so click that video right here to get started.